Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of the Rectified Podcast. Today, my guest is Julia Kirouac, founder of Nud Fud. Welcome, Julia.
Hi, thank you. And you said my last name right, so thank you.
Okay. Julia, tell me more about the name. What does Nud Fud mean? Or is it Nud? Is it Nud Fud? Because
It's
I see both.
nude
Oh,
food. Yeah.
nude
So
food. All
yeah,
right.
I know it makes a lot more sense when you
Now I'm
actually
going to
know it's
apologize
nude.
for
Yeah.
pronouncing it in a wrong
You
way.
pronounced my name right, but the
Yes,
brand wrong. But that's
I
okay.
got
We
one
get it a
thing
lot.
right. Yeah.
Exactly. We get it a lot. So no
Yes.
judgment.
So it's
That
nude
is how it's spelled.
food.
Nude food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's probably more obvious once you know the proper pronunciation.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. So obviously we're just basically trying to make new food that's stripped of anything that was unnecessary to add, right? So as
Mm-hmm.
clean, as pure, as whole as possible, as nature intended.
All right. So all this time I'm like, oh, this nut fat cracker. It's like so
That's
wrong.
okay. That's okay. It's, as long as you're eating it, it's still
Yes.
right.
All
That's what
good.
I would
All
say.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Julia, you're a holistic nutritionist. Tell me what that means exactly.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I can't speak for the whole trade, but in
Mm-hmm.
general, any of these holistic alternative practitioners, when you utilize the term holistic, it's looking at an individual in its whole parts instead of
Mm-hmm.
individual sections of the body or systems. That can be a little bit more reductive and myopic in how the body actually works. So similar to how like some of these ancient medicines will look at the whole being in a whole, even if like your foot hurts, okay, well maybe
Yeah.
it's associated with something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're in allopathic medicine or Western medicine, we're a little bit more, I should say, literal.
Yes.
Like, oh, your tummy hurts. Okay, well, there's no way that that's associated with, something else that could be
Mm-hmm.
happening in a different system. So it's basically the whole idea is like it being holistic. And then, of course, as a nutritionist, we typically work through the modality of what you eat, day
Mm-hmm.
in, day out, how that makes you feel. So there's typically mood and food diaries, and we focus on that as the main substrate. And of course, things
Yeah.
that might be missing from the diet or exacerbating certain issues. If you have an undiagnosed, allergy or
Mm-hmm.
things that you get as far as like a irritation from certain foods that you eat, we kind of really look and investigate how to help someone to live better through
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. So what took you to creating a brand of crackers and others, but mainly crackers, but you have other categories also. What took you from here to there?
Yeah. So I felt talking, on an individual basis from like client to client was a little bit, although big impact to that individual, was
Mhm.
smaller impact on a societal level. And I saw, from my short life at the time, I was only in my early 20s, but I
Yeah.
saw that, there wasn't a lot of improvement, or it didn't look like, if I was looking future looking, that there was going to be much improvement in regards to human health on the whole based on
Mhm.
what society had access to from a food system
Yeah.
perspective. So I wanted to have larger impact. I wanted to really kind of be, as a naive millennial, be the change in regards to providing better quality products. I thought it was that simple. Like, oh, people
Yeah.
just don't have access to healthy products. That's the problem.
Mhm.
I'll fix that.
Yeah.
Without knowing everything else that I know now, of course. But I always say, like, if people aren't mad, they're not paying attention, especially in a country with socialized healthcare.
Yeah.
I look at it as a right. We should be focused on our food sovereignty. We should be
Mhm.
focused on really building nutritious and nutrient dense food for individuals to avoid and be proactive against medical, issues and
Yeah.
lifestyle caused illnesses that we inevitably see, ravaging our society in
Yeah.
Western countries.
And you can easily avoid basically.
Not all of them. Like, again, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
that drastic. Of course,
But
there's some things, but
yeah.
typically, like if we just eat real food, right? A
Mhm.
lot of those
Exactly.
things associated with even symptoms, even if you get
Mhm.
a debilitating disease, some of them can be, somewhat lessened or reduced or
Yeah.
managed if you
Yeah.
just eat real food. Like our
Yeah.
systems were not meant to eat the ultra processed
Mhm.
foods, which make up 70% of our caloric intake on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So it's really just getting back to basics just
Mhm.
eat real food, and then you can pinpoint certain things that may be individual to you that you may have had to deal with anyways. That's kind of
Mhm.
the way that I look at it. Not everyone takes that approach, of course, but I'm
Yeah.
like, we just need to eat real food. Like
Yeah.
that's the basis.
Yeah, that's the basis exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with your products basically?
Yeah. So when I was in school, I started while I was in school to become a nutritionist. So there was an individual in my class who had type 1 diabetes. There were people that had allergies, people who were gluten intolerant,
Mhm.
etc. And I had been seeing some clients, and I was like, you know what? I really want to make it easy and remove the, let's say, the excuses, right? That
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
have of
yeah.
like, oh, this is why I can't eat healthy, or it's too difficult, or I don't know how to cook, etc. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to remove all of those excuses and provide something
Mhm.
that is really light, really convenient, can be eaten by everybody, regardless of dietary restriction. And if I'm going to put my name on it, it has to be the highest quality
Yeah.
that is on the shelf. And so basically, I had been exposed to raw foods when I was living in San Francisco as a ballet dancer in another life, but I had been exposed to some of more of those trends. The US is, I hate to say it, but they're a little bit more ahead of us
Yeah. Yeah, for
in
sure.
some of the trends. And so when I came back to Canada, there weren't the same kind of, trends evolving. So I was like, let's bring, like, to me, that's the pinnacle of what packaged food can reach in regards
Mhm.
to nutrient density, bioavailability, and the ease of digestion. So I was like, if I'm going to do it and make it easy for people and clients and remove the excuses and make it so everyone can eat it, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I did.
Yeah. So you came up first thing with the crackers.
So actually, no, I was doing kale
No.
chips.
Oh,
I was doing grain-free granola, very much ahead of my time. We were
whoa. Yeah.
doing what else? We were doing like sprouted nut balls that were sweetened instead of with dates. They were sweetened with apricots, which are lower glycemic.
Mhm.
We were doing all sorts of things like green bars to be like more alkalizing.
Yeah.
And then some of the things like we did a carrot flax cracker. I just thought it was
Mhm.
so cool. It seemed like sorcery to me that you could take
Yeah.
like three ingredients and like make a cracker, or you could take like,
Yeah.
a couple of things and make it like a dessert. So like I just thought it was insanely cool.
Mhm.
I clearly was not that cool as a person, but I thought it was cool. And then I also made our banana crisps, which are still within the line today.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like
Yeah.
crackers. I'm
Yeah.
weirdly not a cracker person. But when you're doing dehydrated food, there's not
Mhm.
many other forms that products can take. So they
Yeah.
just happen to be in a cracker format. But we're much more than that, is what I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. For me, it's that's what I see. So I thought like
Yeah.
this is what you wanted to create. So thank you for clarifying that. Um, so tell me, how did you get started? Like, yes, there's a lot of trial and error, especially with recipes and creating all these things. And also when you're creating something that's natural or pure and not, you don't have a lot of chemicals in it.
Mhm.
There are challenges in how you package and how you preserve and the quality, etc. Like, what was, your journey throughout all that?
Yeah. So because I didn't have any food conglomerate experience,
Mm-hmm.
like some of my comrades, I really didn't know what I was getting into. So for me, I just I was really interested in culinary arts anyway,
Yeah.
and I really liked food and was pretty good at food, or came naturally to me is what I would say. So I didn't have a ton of trial and error. Like some of the things that
Mm-hmm.
I created and started selling to this day
Yeah.
were literally like the first iteration. So that wasn't an issue in regards to the natural food, let's say scalability and shelf stability and shelf life extension. It's not an issue in dry ambient products where there's
Okay.
dehydration, because
Yeah.
dehydration in itself, similar to fermentation, brining, things like
Mm-hmm.
that, is obviously one of the oldest modalities of food preservation. So we didn't have to worry,
Yeah.
about even contemplating what are we going to add to increase the shelf life. It was just already utilizing ancient preservation techniques
Mm-hmm.
without the addition of any chemicals.
Yeah.
Um, so I really didn't have a lot of work on that end. I mean,
That's
it doesn't mean
great.
it was easy. There were
Mm-hmm.
other challenges. I would
Yeah.
say scaling a real food, dehydrated food
Yeah.
brand is very different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, those are good problems. We'll just say those
Yes,
are
good.
different problems than figuring out, oh, how do I synthesize this in a lab to make it last for 6 months longer? Like,
Yeah.
that's not even a question. We shouldn't be even having food like that. Yeah. So anyway,
You talked about having two, three ingredients and make something, a new
yeah,
product out of it. Nowadays, I see that a lot on social media, like Instagram and TikTok, and they get, I don't know, like cottage cheese and they make bread and they get like two, three things and they make a cake or a bread or something. So it's more trendy. Are you seeing that used with your brand or, are people creating some things on social media using your brand, or are you doing that, utilizing all your social media platforms to, inspire people to use your product one way or another?
I probably should. I don't really.
Yeah.
I because we self-manufacture, that's where a
Yeah.
lot of my attention goes to, because that in itself is fairly unique. Um, so I'm more of like a tangible production type of person. We're also not huge on direct to consumer, which again we
Yeah.
probably should have been more of a native brand, but because we've been around for so long, that also
Yeah.
wasn't as popular of a thing. So we went kind of more the old school route in regards to retail. So anyway, going back to your question with social media
Hmm.
content, I'm sure there are people that do create
Yeah.
content, good or bad, with our product. I'm not really on social media. I think it's one of the most
Okay.
toxic things to be ever created for humanity, like to be fully transparent.
Yeah.
Obviously there are positives. I know some people may be
Yes.
like, oh, there's this good thing. And, I'm a gay kid from a small country or whatever, and it allows me to connect with others. So that aspect of it
Hmm.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think in general, the net result has
Yeah.
been quite negative. So that's more why I really don't
Hmm.
love it. Yeah. And it would
It's
otherwise
not.
have to
It's
be done
not
by
all
me.
bad. It's not all bad.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's
Yeah.
not all bad, but I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of insidious,
Yeah. Yeah.
really bad things.
Mm.
That is not a net positive for society.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, I personally very much dislike it. Since I'm a solo founder, I don't have anybody else to do it that has an
Hmm.
affinity towards social media. And we don't have venture backing. I don't haven't raised $20 million, so I
Yeah.
also don't have somebody to do it full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the realities. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to ask our listeners, don't listen to her. She loves social media. If you want to create things using Nud Fud, go ahead and send her
Yes.
all the things that you created and you're going to be featured. We're
There you
going to
go.
we're going to make
Well,
this
and that's just
happen.
it, right? Like it should be for people who love it, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't. So that would definitely come
Yeah,
across
yeah, yeah.
as inauthentic, right?
Yeah.
So for the people who love it, love you
Mhm.
for it, have fun. It's just not
So
my
true.
jam.
So
Yeah.
true. There's a lot of creators who are doing really amazing things. I see them like in the health space. They're using
Yep.
really healthy ingredients and creating really great recipes. So there's a lot of nice things happening also on social media.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more. You just talked about not having the funding and all of that. Tell us a little bit more about the finance part. How did you start? How did you fund this? And how do you maintain this until today?
Yeah. So I just started in my parents' basement. It was very low upfront cost and overhead.
Mm-hmm.
We were still obviously food safe, and we had an inspector come out and all that. So we still followed all the rules and regulatory guidelines. I just did it in a way that would have been more scrappy, and I self-funded it and wanted to test it and de-risk it as much financially as possible. And yeah, there's a few routes to grow, right? There's an organic
Mm-hmm.
route, which you just fund from the money within the business,
Yeah.
right? And the revenue within the business. Or there's the route where you try to grow like a rocket ship,
Mhm.
which we've seen over the last 5, 6 years
Yeah.
plus in the
Yeah.
industry. And that's somewhat of a mismatch with food, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So a lot of the companies that we've seen raise money are like burning out in glory. It just doesn't work overall. Some do, which is fantastic. Most don't. So yeah, so we've had to be more patient and essentially do self-funding.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, it's a decision you have to make also that has to go with who you are, what you believe in, and your lifestyle. If you want to go and get crazy amounts of money to like skyrocket your brand, you have to be ready to live that kind of lifestyle and the pressure because the people won't give you money for nothing. They just want something in return also. So I think that it's like a decision that needs to be made. Like I know a lot of people who have their own businesses and they're not ready to let go to like a VC fund or whatever, and they just keep growing slowly and gradually. So you talked about funding from within the company,
Mhm.
meaning that what you sell, you take the money and then you reinvest again.
Yeah.
Personal question: how do you live if you take all the money and do you reinvest it?
Yeah. I have a husband, so I'm very fortunate to have someone who pays for the essentials, and I can just
Yeah,
continue to be an entrepreneur.
yeah.
So it's not uncommon. Yep.
Yeah, that's very important. Like most of the people who managed to do this your way, they had someone who's supporting them throughout the
Totally.
process because
Yep.
it's not really easy unless I don't know, you go crazy and make all those, crazy amounts in one day, which is not very probable.
It's not very likely. And again, in
Yeah.
food, you may see revenues, but it's not telling you the true story. So a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't forthcoming in regards to the realities of being a food entrepreneur in
Yeah.
CPG. So most people, if not all of them, are independently wealthy, are
Mm,
kids of very rich families,
yeah.
or they have a network that is very rich
Yeah.
and they have already had those people who they know and trust that are willing to give them money. It is not for the faint of heart, and it is unfortunately not for the poor. It's just not. And anyone
Yes.
else who tells you otherwise is lying to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm noticing that. I'm not going to generalize, but there's a lot of people in your category that I talk to or that I've worked with in the past, etc. And I noticed that it's not an easy industry.
yeah,
The food items cannot be super expensive, so you can't make large amounts of money in one shot. It's like $5 things, maximum $10 things. It's not like thousands of dollars.
yep.
So you need a lot of volume, you need everybody to know who you are, etc. And that's not really the easiest thing to do. Speaking of people getting to know you, how do you make that happen? Like how do people find out about you? How do you market your brand?
Yeah. So since we're not a D2C or digitally native brand, the bulk of people would find us through, in real life events. So it could be
Yeah.
trade shows. It could be, other people may speak about us on social media. Like we don't control or pay for that, unlike many brands. But I would say mostly it's just going to be shelf, like discovery on shelf.
Yeah.
Could be demos, like more things like that. I would say are more,
Hmm.
again, those organic in real life conversation.
Okay. And are you available in stores?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
literally
That's all
98%
you
of our
do.
revenue. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
almost all we do. Yeah.
So there's a challenge a lot of small businesses have, especially food and beverages, is getting into those big stores that we all know about, like in the country.
Mhm.
Especially if not a lot of people know about your brand. Like I know people who are like, "Oh, I went on Dragon's Den, and because I was known there, all
Yeah.
those big companies they came and asked for me, like all the supermarkets and stuff."
Yeah.
How did you manage that? Like, how did you manage to get into those big chains?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I was speaking to, or I guess providing some advice for other food and beverage entrepreneurs, I would say if you don't have the money to purchase the inventory and or a factory to make the product to sustain those volumes, do not even contemplate
Yeah.
going into those stores. With the current, I'd say, nationalistic sentiment, there are some virtue signals coming from these
Yeah.
companies where
Yeah.
they're willing to be more friendly to these companies. But again, it still doesn't beat the realities of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're still a business. It's not a charity.
Yes.
So if your product isn't turning, it's going to cost you a lot of money and could end up
Mm-hmm.
costing your business when they charge you back. So I wouldn't necessarily advise that. I think, again, there's different channels depending on, companies' inroads, the opportunities, the marketing they have, the awareness. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Beverage is especially difficult. It's like a
Yes.
98% failure rate.
Yes.
So it's especially expensive and difficult and competitive. But I would say, yeah, depending on the category, the channel, what the price is, the product, and your demographic, all of those have to be taken into account to determine if it's even a fit for you
Mm-hmm.
to be in mainstream retail. We happen to be in like Portino's, like Loblaws, we're not in a
Yeah.
Walmart. That would not be a fit for our product.
Yeah.
We're not in a Shoppers. Like that would not be a fit, right? So there's certain things you just have to be really honest about it. Would they take the product if I paid their listing fees? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
all it's going to do is artificially pump up my revenue in the short term. And then I'm going to have to buy all of that inventory back with fees and
Mm.
penalties at the end of it.
Yeah.
So again, like I think people just have to be really realistic of like, what is your business actually capable of affording? Where is your product a proper fit? It's not that hard to get into small stores.
Yeah.
Like you have to do it,
Yeah.
and you have to be the main salesperson. But the big guys may not be a fit. But if you want to go to them, like
Yeah.
again, it's not hard to find out like how to do it. It's really
Yes.
not.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But some of these big companies, they actually want the easy way. So they want to already, like, they want for your brand to be already super well known. And then they'll
Yep.
be like, yeah, give me this amount of, whatever it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
And that may be the challenge for a smaller business. But as you said, if it fits with what your brand is, like, for example, you're more a healthy snack, let's say. So if you go to these health stores, there are more chances for you to be in these
Yeah.
spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, there's some exceptions. Again, like if you have the funding, and you show them a comprehensive marketing plan,
Mm-hmm.
based on the funding you have, that you're going to be able to follow it through with business investments into building brand awareness to
Yeah.
then support the velocities, right? And the justification for the
Yeah.
shelf space to be given to you. And you're on trend. Like some things are a trend. So
Yeah.
they know it's going to be a flash in the pan. So they also want to, be able to take advantage of those
Mm-hmm.
trends. So if you were doing anything with protein today that didn't otherwise make
Yes.
sense and you're able to
Yes.
jump on the shelf, great. You may have an inroad to get
Yeah.
into like a
Yeah. Yeah.
Walmart
Yeah.
or a Loblaws. But
Yeah.
guess what? When next year it's not protein, if
Yeah.
you didn't flesh out the other places for you to sustain the velocities,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's not working and you weren't able to overcome just that short-term trend, you'll
Yeah.
be kicked out. So
Yes.
again, I don't think there is really a
Yeah.
shortcut.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to catch up to you.
It's very interesting that you're talking about this because we just published an episode with the founder of 1642. It's like a soda, Canadian soda drink and mixer for like gin tonics and things like that. And he said the exact same thing. He was talking about the trends that we see, especially on social media, and like protein, like Dubai chocolate, like all of these things. And like, yes, today they're successful, but what's going to happen tomorrow? And how are we going to keep doing what we're doing if we hopped on, some trend, and then, that's the challenge there. While if you build your own thing and then people are requesting it regardless if it's a trend or not,
Yeah.
yeah, it can
It's a different
last.
business model. Like it can
Yeah.
work, but you
Yeah.
can't typically be someone who knows nothing about production or the food industry. And if you have no
Yeah.
financing,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. But if you have some of those critical pieces, then sure, some
Hmm.
businesses just do that. Like they just launch a trend, take advantage because they know their numbers are or their days are numbered,
Yes.
and they're able to capitalize on it. It's
Yeah.
almost like betting on the stock market or being a day trader,
Yeah.
right? Like
Exactly.
they know that they can time it. Sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. It's that
Hmm.
simple.
Yeah, like the latest product from Khloe Kardashian, she launched
Yep.
a protein
Genius.
popcorn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
genius.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, she doesn't care if it stops at some point, so she'll just, take advantage of this situation, and then
Yep.
it also fits with her brand, like how she is and her workouts and her this and that. So
Super
it's
smart.
not,
Yep.
yeah, it's not completely
I
a
mean, again,
strange
it's not
thing.
just her, to be obviously
Yeah, yeah,
clear.
yeah. One
Right.
example. When
But yeah, it's no, it's very smart. No, I mean,
yeah,
as far as influencer brands go, I actually think that's one of the more impressive
yeah,
and authentic ones. I think a lot
yeah,
of the
for
other
sure.
influencers make brands that are just pure garbage and not
Hmm.
adding any net value to society.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So mainly you sell wholesale
Yep.
most of the time. And for wholesale, you need like very big quantities. Like they will not come and buy one box of crackers, if we're taking crackers as an example. How do you manage the volume and all the requirements from all these different stores?
Yeah, so we only sell direct to a few stores.
Mm-hmm.
That's also changed, I would say, in the last few years as people try to become more efficient internally themselves and clean up
Yeah.
some of the administrative work. So a lot of them are looking at how they can streamline and save hours. So most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, they're going to force people to go through a distributor. And then that's where, if someone's new, it becomes the chicken and the egg problem. How do I get a
Yeah.
distributor if I have no stores? And how do I get the stores if they'll only work with the distributor? Right. So for us, I would say probably, out of the 98% or 99% that goes through retail, probably a good 90% of that goes through distributor. So like
All
it's
right.
not an
Yeah.
issue. They're ordering
Yeah.
pallets at a time. We
Yeah.
ship it out. It goes to their DC, and then they pull based on the specifications
Mm-hmm.
of the retailer in a
Yeah.
consolidated order with other brands. Yeah.
So you just have to make sure you're making the right quantity. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
at
We
the
basically make on demand. Again, it's a business model when you're vertically integrated and you own your production. It's much
okay.
easier. We don't have to buy,
Yeah.
hundreds of
Uh,
thousands based on an MOQ of a co-man. We just make whatever bit we need to fulfill the orders on time, and then off we go. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. And are you affected by the current economic situation? Everything that's happening in the market now. You're a Canadian brand.
Yeah.
People are loving, helping out all those small Canadian brands. So, what's going on with you concerning this whole issue?
Yeah, I think on the consumer front, with again more of the nationalism, which I think is great,
Yeah.
I think it will be short lived. I also think, again, it's mostly virtue signaling, of which the realities of us going into an
Mm-hmm.
economic downturn and a recession, there's also
Yeah.
the realities of most Canadians can't necessarily afford
Yeah.
inefficient small business products, right? So I think there's a difference between what people say they want to do versus what
Yeah.
they actually can do and can
Yeah.
afford. So
True.
I don't have that much. Faith in the fact that I, as a business, can depend on these types of trends or Canadians wanting
Yeah.
to support Canadians or being capable of it. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
wanting, I think
Yeah.
capable.
Yeah.
I think where we can take advantage is, again, because these big companies like the Walmarts and Loblaws or whoever, they know that they
Mm-hmm.
have some, PR
Yeah.
and kind of image improvements that they need to do. And so some of these things will create inroads and opportunities where we can negotiate and leverage the fact that they don't have enough Canadian products on shelf. So we can potentially go on shelf where and when it suits, right?
Yeah.
In regards to the tariff situation and, let's say, global supply chain, disruptions, even though we don't sell a ton in the US, we pulled out during
Mm-hmm.
COVID because of the economic instability
Yes.
with COVID. We used to do quite a bit more. But I would say now, even though we don't sell a ton in the States, there are still impacts because, again, maybe not forever, but right now the
Yeah.
greenback is
Yeah.
still the global currency. So even commodities, all commodities are bought
Mm-hmm.
in USD, unfortunately.
Yes.
So that affects us, even if you don't sell in the States. And then obviously logistics, like everything just becomes more expensive. So it filters through the economy, the global economy, whether you sell to
Mm-hmm.
them or not. So it's affecting us, again, not in a massive way, but it still is
And the
an effect.
costs. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you able to maintain your prices given that all the costs have increased?
So we had a price increase in COVID. So within the last 5 years, and that was our first one ever.
Yeah.
We increased three SKUs, which
Mm-hmm.
were our highest volume ones that we felt could sustain the potential blowback in the market from consumers. So we did that, and then now we've made them all in line as of this year.
Okay.
Just to kind of fix that disparity between the product lines. We don't foresee having to do a massive shift right now. Chocolate is definitely way up, but it seems to have stabilized. Also, a quantity purchased almost exclusively in USD. So,
Mm-hmm.
with that one, yeah, our prices doubled within a year. We have not pushed through a huge price increase. We're just kind of taking a wait and see approach and seeing if we can create more efficiencies internally, because we
Mm-hmm.
also know there is somewhat of a limit of what the consumer can sustain.
Yeah.
So that's like always a last resort
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
brand. So we're trying to not. Yeah.
Mm. It's a challenge, especially that the product, as I said earlier, they're not super expensive products, so you can't have a lot of changes. Yeah, you're in a
Yeah.
food category, you still have to maintain a specific level
Yeah.
in the pricing, so that can be challenging with everything that's happening. Julia, tell us, where can we find you if we're in Canada?
Yeah. So in Canada, online is easy. We're on Amazon, the Tour Market, well.ca, so some of those big e-commerce retailers, as well as our own site. course, at
Yes.
nudfood.com. We also have a coupon for you guys too, which I
Yes.
didn't mention before. So it's just Rectified 15 to get 15% off, of which you wouldn't get on the other platform. So that's direct from our
Perfect.
site. And we have some sample bundles and things like that, which are great. Beyond that, if you shop in stores, which most Canadians do, we're available. I mean, different chains in different provinces. I won't bore you with all of them, but generally we're
Yes.
in like some Sobeys, select metros and Foodlands and things like that. We're in Fortino's. We're in all Whole Foods across the country, Healthy Planets, those types of stores. And of course, if any of your listeners live in an area where we didn't mention a retailer, reach out and we'll help
Yeah.
you right away at info@nudfood.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Julia. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning more about Nud Fud and correcting the name mainly for me.
All
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you for
you
having
so
me.
much. Thank you.
Thank
To
you.
all the listeners, I'll be back next week with a new episode.